simply fun, just for fun, to be in a longer. And there it is! Ball drive! Deep to left! Hockey has it! Takes it to second himself! This incredible season has another chapter to it!
And now they've got a call between third and home. The ball gets away. It just score Rosarena. The Rays have won.
There's your Dan Johnson moment. Oh, my!
And welcome back, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the Rays Rewind podcast, courtesy of the Belief Podcast. That I can't talk. It's been so long, Drew. I can't even talk anymore. Courtesy of the Belief Podcast Network and WATB Sports. I'm one of your hosts, the Evan, the Great Old Bushman, and as usual is my co-host Drew. We are back live on all the social media platforms. Make sure to go to @the Rays Rewind Pod on Twitter to follow us there. And we're all over the place, so it's going to be nice. But it's great to be back, man. It's been a while since we've done a show. The Rays look to be having their swagger back, Drew. Is it because we've been playing teams that are under 500, or do you think this team has gotten an elephant off their back, per se, when it comes to distractions and all that stuff? But you were at the game. You were at one of the games last week against the Rockies.
Yes.
How was that experience? I knew you were back in town for a couple of days, so good to be back.
Yeah.
Of course, you were out of town before. Now we have a hurricane coming. So
yeah, perfect timing. We went to the Thursday afternoon game. My family and I went with my wife and kids, and my parents came along. We sat in left field per usual, and my son he got a warm-up ball, which was great, made him very excited, from Randy. So that was nice. Man, it was a great time. It was great to be back. It's the first game I had been at in person since since May sometime. I went through a handful of games while we were still in town. Saw, a couple home runs. I was, of course, missing the Luke Raley home run because I was out getting concessions for my kids,
Nice.
and also making my voyage to the team store, my sojourn. And then
how much money did you spend at the team store?
Team store? Well, so I'm technically a season member still.
Okay.
For this season, so I get my 20 or 25% off.
So you get the discount.
And you can't get that online, so you have to. I was like, I got to get something. And to be honest, I needed a new shirt because I have like a pullover kind of sweatshirt material from, I think it's like a 47 era shirt. That's a really cool, like cream color throwback Devil Rays sweatshirt with a black hood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice, but it's not ideal to wear in the middle of the summer.
I think I have that one. It's got the Devil Rays logo on it, right?
Yeah.
I think I have that one.
And so I have that, but and the best thing about the Trop is you can wear whatever as long as maybe I don't wear it outside, but take it with me or whatever. But I didn't want to wear that. And my only other shirt that's not like 6 years old is a Wander Franco jersey that I own. And I wasn't, I figured I could probably still wear it at the Trop. Just, nothing's come out officially. It's not like anything, but as I mentioned before in the podcast, I'm going to the game. I'm going to a couple games in Baltimore.
Nice.
In September for the Rays Orioles. Just happened to be the best series of the year, probably. And I felt like I wouldn't be able to wear my Wander Franco jersey there.
Yeah.
Of course, unless everything by then was completely, he was absolved of everything. So I got a nice little new dry fit shirt. My daughter got a hat, and my son got another shirt because he's growing like crazy and everything doesn't fit him.
Were they doing like a buyback program for the Franco jerseys at all? I heard so they are doing that. Okay.
Well, there wasn't anything official. I unfortunately I didn't bring it with me, so it didn't matter. I feel like hopefully once things become official, if it's as bad as it supposedly is, I don't know, but like I would hope that maybe they do some sort of program where you get a credit or they can somehow, because it's stitched on. I don't know how they could go about replacing like the names, for free maybe, but like I would happily get another name because I paid $200 in total for the jersey and the customization. So, but yeah, I got a nice. I mean, to answer your question, I think I spent about between those three items, and then my wife got a Taylor Wall's koozie
Mm-hmm.
because Taylor Wall's her favorite player. Spent $80-$90, and that was with the discount.
Nice. Yeah, the last time I was there, I had a few alcoholic beverages, and I made the mistake of spending way too much money at the team store.
Say what you will, they got a ton, they got a lot of fire stuff in the team store,
They do.
man.
They
It's
do.
overwhelming. There's so much that I like. It's hard for me to pick because I'm like, oh, I would love this jacket, but it's $150.
Right.
Or I'd love these shirts. Like, I just would love to wear all of it.
The
But
the trick is there's some of the stuff that they have in the team store that's usually on Fanatics. When they have Fanatics has that like up to 60 or up to 70% off like sale, you can almost get it off for like a little bit less.
I don't know why they don't let you do the season member discount online. Like, if I go to the team store's website, why can't I use?
Because they want you to come to the ballpark. That's why.
I know,
They
but
want you to come there to spend money, Drew.
I'm
Don't
a
you know that
season I'm
by
a
now?
season member. I'm already spending, we already spent over $1,000 for 2 seats in a seat. Like, I'm already spending money. Of course, I'm going to be at the ballpark enough. Like, but yeah, man, it was great. I called Josh Lowe's homer in the 8th. Was that the 8th inning?
Yeah, I
7th or
believe
8th
so, yeah.
inning. I said out loud to my son, I said, I feel like Josh is going to hit a home run here. And he did. Uh, Also won some money on DraftKings that day.
Very
I
nice.
had Rayleigh and Josh. It was a great day all around. I got to see a
Nice.
lot of different things. For a bullpen day, I was pretty unenthused, and the energy was pretty low for the most part. But yeah, I got to see a lot of nice things of that game, and it was a great week overall. And also to answer your original question about the team, yeah, it certainly helps to play the Rockies. Honestly, the Rays, it very easily could have lost 2 of 3 or all 3, really. It wasn't like we were just blowing them out of the water. Thankfully, the Rockies have a really bad bullpen, and they were able to, come back, which is not always easy to do, no matter how bad a team may be.
Right.
But I think going on the road to San Francisco and winning 2 of 3's legit. They're a playoff team, or last I checked, they were. I don't know if they. I know it's
I
so close over there.
They've won
Uh,
5 I think they've won 5 series, in August so far,
yeah.
and
So
they're
they
doing pretty
never.
well.
Last year they struggled in Anaheim.
Yeah.
At the end of a long West Coast trip. I remember. I think the one game they won was when they pitched Shohei. So 2 of 3 there, and yeah, a sweep of Colorado and 2 or 3 against. The Yankees. Yeah, you'd love to sweep, but
I
Garrett
mean,
Cole.
when you're facing Garrett Cole, it's kinda tough to do, but it's always
I
good to serve up, an
yeah,
FU to the Yankees when they are constantly hitting our hitters, especially Randy Rosarino, like they did on
and
Sunday.
I remarked
Wh
to my friend, I was like, if Garrett Cole's got to win the Cy Young, I'm glad it's a year where the Yankees are in last place. So it doesn't bother me as much. But yeah, man, it's great. It's great to see them win. I really don't think, like, I feel like I see some chatter about Wander, and I know they're like he was a bad teammate or whatever, and but I don't think it's so much. I'd like to think this, at least. I don't know for sure either way, that it's not so much he's out of the clubhouse, so now the team is just, the vibes are better and all this, let's go. I think it might just be that backs were kind of against the wall a little bit.
Mhm.
You lose your best player, certainly position player, and it's kind of like a moment for the team to kind of
I
kind
th
of galvanize themselves and, like, hey, what hey, this isn't good. Like, we gotta really focus, and, like, just almost as a rallying cry, like, hey, backs against the wall, we just lost Wander, we don't know when he's coming back. Like,
e
let's lock it in and step up here. And so
I ca
I
I can
think it's
agree
more
with
of that
I can
than
agree on that too. I can also see too, I mean, maybe we've talked about this before on the show where, you know, obviously, they had the great couple of months in the beginning and then the rough spots during the summer. And we
Mhm,
talked about why not have them struggle early on than later on. And obviously, when you have a bad July, that can make or break your team. And
right.
obviously that bumped them out of, first place in the AL East, but just the past couple of weeks, man, they've just been playing. It almost seems like back to basics baseball. It just seems like they've got the swagger back, like I said beforehand. It just seems like they're and the thing is they look like they're having fun again, which is a good thing too, because in after the All-Star break, it just looked like this team had looked defeated and
Right.
tired, and they didn't look like they were having fun anymore. It just looks like now, seeing them play, they've got that. This might be like a little corny. It looks like they've got the smile back in the team. Like the team is having fun again playing ball. And listen, if you're going to do it, have that get back to the way you were in the first couple of months, now's the time to do it. We're in late August. We're about to hit the final run of the season in September heading into the playoffs. So why not get hot again? Why not play great baseball again in the last half of the season where it matters the most? So
Right.
That's what I've observed so far about this team is they've really picked each other back up from the horrendous July. And that's where you see a team being resilient and being hopefully a champion. And I've said it before, and I've been on other podcasts too, where look, this team might be a one and done team where they go on the wild card and they get bounced like they did last year.
Yep.
I'm kind of maybe changing my tune on that, just the way they've been playing. Now, obviously, they've been playing teams that are not that great. And, with their schedule coming up, obviously they've got 2 against Miami, barring whatever the storm's going to be tomorrow, Wednesday. You've got Cleveland, Boston, Seattle, Minnesota, and then a really big series against Baltimore, 4-game set, in Baltimore. You're playing the Angels again without Shohei pitching because he's going to be done pitching-wise. And then the Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Blue Jays again. So I think with this team, I think they could overtake the Orioles again and win the AL East. What do you think?
I mean, it's tough because the Orioles, I think their schedule is. We didn't even talk about the Orioles losing Felix Bautista. I would like to think that it's going to happen. I just have it in my mind that it's going to have to take the Rays showing up big in Baltimore, because I think Baltimore's good enough. They're playing good enough, playing well enough right now that I don't think the Orioles. I mean, unless I don't know. It just they haven't really. They've not. I think I saw the stat. They haven't been swept in a series, right? Since
and they also just lost Batista too. He's
right.
done. So
since Adley came up, certainly that hurts. But they don't seem like a team to me. At least they haven't shown it that they're capable of going on this like 6 or 7 game losing streak, right? Like what we're seeing in the AL West, right? Where Texas is lost 8 in a row and Seattle won 8 in a row, and like I just don't see that happening. So I think it's going to be a lot of like kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back type thing. And so, yeah, I mean, of course, the Rays are only 2.5 back. They can certainly plenty. There's enough time to win the division.
Yeah.
But the deck is still stacked against them. Like unless the Orioles go on some unforeseen losing streak, it's going to be a lot of small gains, and that requires the Rays to keep winning series. As long as they keep winning series, they should, in theory, close the gap and overtake the Orioles. So they're doing what they need to do for sure.
Yeah.
However, like I mentioned this back when they played, in July and the 4-game set in the Trop, and they, were really disappointing and lost 3 or 4 and kind of got outclassed by the Orioles. They put themselves against back themselves up against in the corner, back themselves into a corner because they've got in order to win the season series with the Orioles, they got to sweep them in Baltimore. Right. And so, and let's just assume that that's very unlikely to happen. So, the Orioles are going to win the season series more than likely. So really this 2.5 game deficit is a 3.5 game deficit. So you might, unless again, the Rays are able to sweep them or the Orioles go on some losing streak, you take the deficit that the Rays have and add a game, because if they tie, the Orioles will more than likely have the tiebreaker and will be the division winner. So I would put it at in my opinion, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. I put it at a 70-30.
Okay.
For the Rays for the Rays to not win the division.
Okay. I'll take that.
But I would, I still I just think with the roster that the Rays have, and I get there's a lot of people out there, and the Rays are probably some of the biggest champions of this, at least from what it seems like. Just get into the playoffs. You never know. it's such a crapshoot, right? The Phillies barely got in, or were like the last team in, and they went on a great run. They had a great lineup and some good studs at pitcher, and they got hot and went to the World Series. Within 2 games of winning a World Series. Yes, of course, that could happen to any team that gets in. So yeah, you want to just get in.
Yeah.
But the Rays roster is not as constructed like we had at the beginning of the year, so it's not as good. And it's still a good team, but it's certainly not as high end of a roster as we had to start the season, or like what we thought we have. So, in my mind, you got to make it as easy as possible. I feel like for the Rays to legitimately have a shot to win the World Series, you have to make it as easy as possible, and that means winning the division, avoiding a wild card matchup with the Astros. In the play, like even if it's at the Trop, like playing the Astros in the playoffs just doesn't have. That's not a good vibe, right?
No.
Like that doesn't feel good. Playing the Mariners and with how hot they've been lately, or playing the Rangers with their lineup, and historically just how the Rangers have seemingly owned the Rays in the playoffs. I just, none of those things seem to me like that would, like, the only team I'd feel really comfortable about is like the Blue Jays, and that they might not even make it. So I just avoid the wild card altogether, and then win the division and just get who you play in the next round. Let them duke it out, and you take whoever you get. So I put it at 70-30 for the division, 70% to lose.
I'll take it.
So,
and I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it with those kind of eyes, where the next stretch of series against teams that are over 500, or it's going to be pretty competitive baseball. I mean, Seattle, 4 against Seattle at home, and then 4 against Baltimore. I really like, though, the way our rotation is looking, and then also our bullpen too. It just seems like now things are clicking again, even though we've had all the injuries in the starting rotation. Like, we're getting guys back now. Glass now has just been a monster on the mound. And I wanted to ask you, I saw a lot of chatter on Twitter this past week and a half where, obviously this next season, $25 million, and the Rays should trade him in the offseason. Thoughts on that? Do you think they should trade him or try and restructure a contract? I mean, obviously, we don't know what's going to go on with Wander Franco, and if they decide to say, "Hey, we're cutting ties," and that's another thing I want to ask you too. I have a 2-parter for you. I have a 2-parter question for you. Let's rewind that back.
All right.
Do you think? And I'm going to say this, maybe I'll do 2 options for you with the Wander Franco thing. Regardless of what happens, if it comes out where he was being blackmailed or extorted or whatnot, or the other option where it actually turns out to be true, and according to Hector Gomez, he ain't going to be playing baseball anytime soon. Do you think the Rays should be like, we've got to wash our hands of this and maybe cut ties? We'll obviously whatever in the contract is, they'll probably void that contract, and they'll save a ton of money. Then you have a ton of money freed up to where you can do whatever you want with it. Do you think? First part question: do you think the Rays should maybe wash their hands of him and just say, "Look, we can't you've this anymore with you. You've had chances. Now this whole thing has come out. We have to part ways." What do you think on that?
Yeah.
Because I say that because we have so much depth at shortstop, and they've been doing pretty well without him. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, well, so what would if we say we part ways, what does that look like? Does that mean a trade?
No, I say outright.
No,
I wouldn't, because I don't think a team with him with that kind of baggage, regardless of what happens, you're still going to have a looming cloud over him of maybe it was true, and they've you know what I mean? Because I think they just outright they void the contract. There's got to be an out where they can just be like, we're done. We're releasing you. We're letting you go. We're not going to be paying you anymore. Like, we're letting you off. We're kicking you out. You know what I mean? Not a trade. I don't think the value of him with all this going around is. I don't think there's even a market right now, maybe because of what's going on. You know what I mean? Regardless of how the outcome is.
Yeah, I mean, if the outcome is that he's not in trouble,
right,
and it was an extortion and he's a victim, I mean, and he comes out clean, I mean, yeah, I don't see any reason why wouldn't want to have him back, especially with the long term commitment. I mean, I don't think that the well, first of all, if
Not
he's
guilty.
not if he's not guilty, but the Rays are like, you know what,
We don't need this.
we don't need this. Well, they're gonna have to trade him because if they release him, they're gonna be on the hook for his contract.
But
So,
what if there's a clause in the contract where they can void it out? Or saying, you know,
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
maybe that's for if he's convicted. If he's convicted, then it's
Yeah,
voided. If
if
he's
he oh,
not, then
yeah,
yeah,
if he's convicted and he's got, like,
void it
legal
out.
or
Yeah.
criminal charges, then there's something. Although I was reading, Topkin was talking about it, an article was writing about it. I think that the MLBPA, the Players Association, I guess they're pretty aggressive about making sure players still get paid, so
Mm.
the likely scenario is that
It would be a
there would still
fraction of what
there
he
would
would
still be
make.
there would be still some buyout, like some sort of agreed upon
Okay.
buyout. But yeah, I mean, if he's fine, if he comes out of this without any issue, then man, plug him back in.
Okay.
I wouldn't get rid of him
Okay.
because then I mean, then you're talking about you'd have to trade him,
Yeah.
which I mean, sure you get a ton of, but you're talking about arguably you know in terms of a guy you'd want to start a franchise around what like top 8 in the league, top 5 maybe when he's playing his bet like when he's at the peak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he was the most valuable player in the American League for a while, you know, besides Shohei. So I think you keep him. I mean, I wouldn't get rid of him. Uh,
Okay.
you know, you obviously hope that, as
None
we've
of it's
said
true.
before, well, if it's none of it, this is all the basis that none of it's
Right.
true.
Right.
Learning experience, like, hey, you know, you got to be more careful, and let's, you know, that's in the past now, and so now we move on. Um, Now, if it's obviously true, then I'm sure he obviously won't be playing. So that'll be an easy decision. However,
Also too, I think no matter what, I think the MLB also too is since he's on the restricted list right now, there could be a punishment coming down, a la not maybe a la Trevor Bauer type because
yeah,
I was reading some of the reports saying there could be a punishment coming down from the MLB. It could be Trevor Bauer esque, which his was what 300 something games, which was reduced down to 100 something because of an appeal. So either way, we won't see him in a uniform anytime soon. So
right.
my next question with Tyler Glass now, a lot of people are like, well, maybe the Rays should trade him in the offseason because of so much money he's making. I wouldn't trade him. I mean, restructure a contract where it's team friendly to bring him back. I mean, with the amount of issues that we have when it comes to starting pitching and the amount of injuries, why would you want to let him walk? That doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to me.
No. No, not at all. I yeah, I mean, if it's an issue like a Trevor Bauer situation where okay, criminally he doesn't have any issues
Mm-hmm.
and but Major League Baseball suspends him for a year or two. You know, it's different. Like Trevor Bauer and Wander Franco are not the same type of player, and you have these
Right.
long-term agreements. So that's a little bit trickier. I don't think. I mean, I would. I think it would just come down to if the Rays feel like, from a public relations perspective, it's not,
Right.
you know, it's not as big of a deal. You know, they wait it out, you know, a year or 2 years or whatever it is, and you know he's there, and you know 24, 25. But yeah, that's a lot trickier. I mean, I would like I said, I'm as long as it doesn't come out that he is guilty of what's being accused, like if the details emerge and it's like, yeah, he's actively trying to get relationships with girls that are, you know, in their teens, you know, they're minors and stuff, and he's 22 years old doing this stuff, like, okay, anything like that,
Yeah.
get him out. But you know, it's such a tricky like thing. I don't know. It's just difficult to really know ahead of time. Um, but I think you asked about Glass now, right?
Yeah.
So one thing about Glass now, you know, I was listening to some Rays talk about this next year with the team. I think you can make an argument for both. I think I was hearing this on I was listening to iHeart Sports 95.3. They were talking about this. I mean, the pitching staff is still pretty good next year, right? Like you look at the pitching staff next year based on who's on the roster, who's
Right.
coming back. You would have Glasnow, Eflin at the top. You'd have Savale. You'd have Zach Littell, I guess. I mean,
He's been
I mean,
great.
he had a rough couple, like rough inning on Sunday, but he's been great.
Boz will be back. Boz
Shane
will be
Baz,
back.
he'll be
Yep.
back at the beginning. Taj Bradley's, I mean, I think I would imagine he's going to get called up soon.
You'll probably
Uh,
have Rasmussen and then Springs the late July, right?
yes,
Yeah.
they'll be second half of the season. Like
Yeah.
that's a really good rotation. I think anybody would take that. So already you're going to be a contender with that rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And then the lineup, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I feel like it's very easy to see this Rays team being another playoff team next year with the guys they would have, even without Wander, especially if you consider, if you expect Yandy and Randy and some of those guys to keep, producing Josh Lowe, Luke Rayleigh, like as long as they don't drop off, like
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay.
Don't forget about Parade. Don't forget about Paredes too.
And Isak, yeah, of course, and he's been fantastic as well.
What a
I would,
steal! What a steal the trade deadline that was.
I know.
What a steal!
So
goodness.
So I just don't. That was actually a spring training deal.
That's right. That's what
Yeah.
it was right after. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah,
Because everybody was
so-
like, "Why would they trade a guy to hit in 100
know.
RBIs?" And then,
I know.
well, Austin Meadows is still not playing right now.
I know. I actually feel really bad. He's just been dealing with a lot of stuff, it seems like.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he gets back. So he and his brother can play together. That'd be pretty cool. But
That would be.
I would say if it was me, I'd say there's no reason why. Just because Tyler Glasnow's being at $25 million, there's no reason why you don't keep the team together. And because if you're going to trade Tyler Glasnow, like, I don't know. I guess I see the merit because of how the Rays operate. If he's healthy going into the trade deadline next year and pitching well,
I was going to say the value of him right now is pretty high up. So
yeah, it is.
You can get, but I agree with you. I wouldn't break up the band. You know what I mean?
No, and he's the high end pitcher that you need in order to actually do something. So, but in my opinion, if you trade Tyler Glasnow, then I feel like you would have to trade. You don't have to, but like I feel like then it makes sense to look at offers for Randy because it's the same idea. Randy's value is super high, and he's great. He's a great player. He's probably going to have another 2020 season. I think he's close to it already. And like he's obviously very marketable and he would get the fans excited. So his value is going to be really high. And, he's going to be 29 next year. A guy that prides himself on speed. He's, you would obviously argue he's in the peak of his career. So if you're going to trade Glasnow, what precludes you from trading Randy? So then it's like but then you're almost voluntarily putting your team in a situation where now you're just a fringe playoff team. And
I think what they should do is keep him around because he pisses off the Yankees so much. It's hysterical, man.
Yeah, honestly, if the Wander thing goes south, I would love it. Even if the Wander thing doesn't go south, I would love for them to come to some sort of extension with Randy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he seems like a guy that, to me, based off of, I don't know if you read that ESPN article that came out about him, that profile.
Is it something about the tiger or something like that?
Yeah, really, really good if you haven't. I think he seems to me like a very loyal person. And I know like Boris is his agent or whatever. He's with the Boris agency. So, I know it's going to be difficult, but I just would like to think that there's something that could be worked out with the Rays that they'd be willing to give him just because of how much he brings to the team.
Right.
On the field, both skill wise and just excitement, and fans love him. I mean, he is easily the most beloved player on that team.
Dude, you got 2 sections named after you. So
I know. So I think that I think if it were up to me, you keep the team because we've learned this year, pitching depth, you can't have enough pitching, and we've had just an incredible amount of injuries, more than we ever thought, to this pitching staff. So if you're trading Glasnow in the offseason, again, I would see the merit in it because of his values at his highest and all this stuff. I'm sure they would, hopefully get some great return for him and, some valuable pieces for the next several years. But at the same time, like, I just think you're willingly saying we're going to make ourselves worse this year.
Yeah.
And to me, it just when you have a team that's plenty good enough to be a competitive team, and then you add in, younger guys that, Basabe, Curtis Mee, guys that are, getting a taste now that, maybe take a step forward next year, a la Luke Rayleigh and Josh Lowe. You have Junior Caminero coming up. I mean, like you have a lot of guys coming up in the minors, positionally, or position player wise that I think, could really make the team very dynamic. And that's not even to mention guys they could sign in the free agency. So
Right.
I'd say keep the team together. Don't fall into the trap of, retooling. And hey, if Tyler Glasnow walks and gets a draft pick, but you have a great team because he was here in 2024, it is what it is. Like, maybe they could work out another extension for him. I don't know. Maybe
I think they should. I definitely think they should because right now he's the number one. He's pitching well.
Yeah, he
Now,
loves
obviously,
playing down here.
yeah, and obviously we've had the issues with him with being injured and whatnot, but when he's back and he's on fire, and he is one of the best pitchers in the league. Are you a little sad that the Rays don't retaliate when the Yankees hit our batters?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, I'm glad that they finally.
I'm glad
they finally
I
got.
want to see Cash and Boone go at it because Cash was down there yesterday and he's like, enough.
I know.
Like
I know.
I want
to see
him
out there.
Dude, Boone's such a little rat, bro. I cannot stand Aaron Boone. I hope he gets fired in the offseason, even though Cash.
No. We want Aaron Boone to stay.
Oh, because the Yankees are terrible with him. Yeah, that's
true. Well, I don't think he's a good manager.
No, he sucks.
And so I would love for him to stay with the Yankees as long as possible. I hope they don't change anything about the team because they keep going after these aging guys. I mean, it's been evident for several years now, that they are slow and old and declining. And if Aaron Judge isn't hitting, I really like Aaron Judge as a player. He's awesome. I don't have anything bad to say about him. He's great. And even yesterday, you could see he was like, I think him and Springs were like laughing and stuff. And like, he genuinely, like, he's like Mookie Betts for me. Like, I didn't hate Mookie Betts when he was on the Red Sox. Now I hated like Kevin Youkilis and David Ortiz, but Mookie Betts, he's fine. Aaron Judge is great. But if he's not hitting 62 homers and having a historic season, the Yankees are not a good team.
No, I agree with you. So, it's fun. It's so comical though. Like the Yankees are so bad. Like their defense is so bad. Like even Yankees fans are turning on their own team, which is it's so great. Just seeing the Boobers when they come out and they just play like shit. It's so much fun. And I wish I was there over the weekend because I'm sure like Yankees fans probably would have been a lot like nicer than they usually are because their team is so bad and they're not making the playoffs this year and they hate Aaron Boone with all their hearts and souls now. So I would like them to maybe obviously now I wouldn't retaliate now because the Yankees are not even in contention whatsoever. But like when the Yankees get back, if they ever get back to like, normal form, I would love to see the Rays maybe plunk a guy or two. But it just seems so funny they have a hard on for Randy. Randy's like, look, I'm running the bases here, man.
Right.
Like I'm not taunting you at all. I'm running the.
He's an easy target.
I know.
He does that fake slam the bat thing. He's done that like 4 or 5 times this year. I feel like where he's gotten hit and he like takes the bat and kind of like acts like he's going to slam it down. I don't, it's hard to know what he's thinking.
I love the fact that it took like 3 guys to hold back Yandy Diaz yesterday.
Oh yeah. I love man. Yandy, when he comes out like that and is like, he doesn't
his shirt's off. His guns are like,
yeah, no, he doesn't have any expression on his face, but you can tell he's pissed. Like you can just tell he's pissed. But he's just like when he got hit the other night, he's just staring at, like kind of just looking at the guy and like chewing his gum and not literally no expression on his face. But you can tell he's like that's his way of showing anger.
That's the look of somebody gives when they want to murder you.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but like I'm fine with the Rays not retaliating. I mean, you think back to how the Rays have quote unquote retaliated to the Yankees, shenanigans the last few years. Like they've done it in the best way possible, right? They in 2020, they yelled at they had kind of gotten a yelling match, right? Deservingly so. And then the next day out, Mike Brasso comes out and hits 2 homers, and against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. And then obviously in the playoffs, he hits that homer against Aroldis. Like there's no better revenge than what the Rays got that year in 2020. And you also had the Rays, I thought, Kevin Cash, and he spoke up about it in the press conference that day, the stable full of guys throwing 98 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, I think with how things played out, like it went as good as it could have for the Rays. Like there's only bad things. Sure, like in the moment, it would have felt good. It would felt great for Randy to charge, and like the Rays just never have that kind of player outside of maybe Carlos Gomez, right? Like they just not.
Well, remember Johnny Gomes used to do that a lot.
Johnny Gomes, and you need that aggression early on when you're trying to make a statement to the rest of the league, which is totally fine. And James Shields and the whole lot.
Yeah.
But now, like for a long time, and I think a lot of it's because of Kevin Cash. Like he is not a guy that gets fired up, right? Like he doesn't go out and argue with the umps like an Aaron Boone or even like a David Bell with Cincinnati, like some of these managers. Like if he goes out and says something to the manager, or says something to the umpire, it's a big, that's pretty rare. Right. And I think the players emulate that, which is a good thing in the long term. In the short term, it can be frustrating. But I thought yesterday was fine. They obviously were frustrated and expressed it. Randy didn't get thrown out of the game. He's not getting suspended because that would have been terrible. And he got back at the pitcher. Right, he made Abreu look like an idiot because he stole 2 bases on him. And you steal 2 bases on him after getting plunked. You can talk a little bit, which Randy did. He was obviously saying something, and he baited Abreu into saying something. And then the bench, bench is clear. Like the Rays come out of this looking much better than the Yankees because then Brandon Lau puts the cherry on top with his.
I was just about to say that. Mic drop.
Yeah, quote. And just a very laid back answer, but it makes all the sense in the world, and it just it's mic drop moment. So yeah, now as long as the Rays don't come out next year and become a last place team and have that comment thrown in their face, it'll be fine. But for now, it was as good as it could have gone, I think, given the situation. And I'm just glad that no one got suspended.
I agree as well. Yeah, that quote he did at the post game with Trisha was, I think, a buddy of ours, 1771 Designs on Twitter, is actually making a T-shirt about that, which is pretty cool. So.
Oh, really?
Not worth our time. Yeah, not worth our time.
I was actually thinking about that. I think it'd be a good.
I think he's t-shirt. Already. I'm looking at Twitter right now. He already has the design for it and everything. Not worth it. So great.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we'll end on that note, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Rays Rewind podcast, courtesy of the Believe Podcast Network and also WATB Sports. Make sure to catch us live next week as we will give you another live episode of the Rays Rewind podcast solely focused on the Tampa Bay Rays. Make sure to go to Twitter and follow us at Rays Rewind Pod. For myself and Drew, we will see you guys later. Peace.